Good morning, everybody out there in Mathland. Today, for fourth grade, we will be talking about classifying triangles by angles. So yesterday we were talking about how to do that using their sides, and everybody did very good in the homework, so I'm very proud of you. But now we're gonna look at how I classify them using the type of angles that were used to create them. There are four different types that we're going to learn about. One is the acute triangle. An acute triangle is made up of three angles that are less than 90. Okay, all of those angles are acute. An obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle. It is possible for a triangle to have only one obtuse angle. If it had two, it wouldn't be able to close the third side. So in order for a triangle to be obtuse, it only has to have one obtuse angle, which is this one right here. Then there's a right triangle, which, just like the name says, has a right triangle in it, and they symbolize it having that little square corner. It also can only have one right angle. So the only one out of these three that can have more than one of itself is the acute, which all three are acute for it. There's also an equiangular triangle. It has three angles with the same measure. So all of these, for example, would be 60 degrees, 60, 60, 60, because all the angles measure the same measurement, okay? So for example, let's look here. It says classify the triangle by its angles. This right here on the top is an obtuse angle. So therefore the triangle has one obtuse angle, so it is an obtuse triangle. Over here, classify a triangle by its angles and its sides. So sometimes you're gonna have to do both. Now by its sides, it means the same as yesterday. Equilateral, isosceles, scalene. To review, isosceles means that only two sides measure the same thing as each other. Equilateral means all three, and then scalene means none of them measure the same thing. So right here, you see this little square corner? It means that that triangle has one right angle, and it has two sides with the same length. So I would call it a right isosceles triangle because it has a right angle and two equal sides, okay? So you're combining what you learned yesterday with what you're learning today. Classify the triangle by its angles. Look at that. If it has that right away, that's a right triangle. Okay? Now classify the angles by its angles and its sides. Okay? Right now, all of these are acute because they're less than 90. So that means this is an acute. None of these sides are the same length. There's acute scalene triangle. All right. Next page. On the top, we're only gonna classify these angles by these triangles by its angles. All right, so here we go. This right here is an obtuse angle. So this is obtuse triangle. Over here, all these are acute. Over here, they're telling you that all these measure the same thing, so this is the equiangular triangle. I know it because they already gave us those little red arches, okay? Equi means equal, angular means angle. So just like equilateral means same side length, this means equal angles. Now we're gonna classify the triangle by its angles and its sides. It's almost like giving it a first name and a last name, okay? See how there's two that are the same? That's isosceles, and they're all acute. So I call this an acute isosceles triangle. Okay, over here, it's a right because it has the little square corner. And then none of these, so it's a right scalene triangle. Over here. Here's my obtuse angle over here. So this is an obtuse scalene because none of the sides match triangle. This sandwich, it has a little square corner. So that's a right, and it has two equal sides. So right isosceles triangle. Over here, look at this. All the angles measure the same thing, and all the sides measure the same thing. I love this name. This is equiangular, equilateral triangle. And over here, okay, that's obtuse and isosceles. Obtuse, isosceles triangle. Okay. So over here, they're asking us to draw an acute scalene triangle. This side will measure 3 of these things. The next one needs to equal more. There we go. This is scalene because it's all different sizes. Can an obtuse triangle also be an equilateral triangle? Okay. No, because equilateral triangles are also equiangular, and each angle will have to measure 60 degrees, which is an acute angle, so therefore, no. An obtuse angle cannot be equilateral. It would have to be equilateral and equiangular. Next, classify the large triangle on the shuffleboard court by its angles. Verify your answer by finding the measure of each angle. Now, we cannot do this problem fully because we cannot measure the angles. We don't know how to do that with a protractor. We're skipping that. We're skipping that skill as explained earlier. So I'm just gonna let you know that this is an acute triangle. The measurements would have been 40, 70, and 70, which would still make it an acute triangle because they were all less than 90. Classify the triangle and the clothes hanger by its angles. Verify your answer by finding the measure. I'm not going to have you find the measure, but I can tell you that this is an obtuse triangle because that angle on the top is bigger than 90. Over here, the deeper in the picture, the tree is perpendicular to the ground. Draw the triangle formed by the tree, the wire, and the ground. Classify the triangle by its angles and sides. So if it's like this, that means that it forms a square corner, okay? So it's a right triangle. And I know it because it forms a square corner because it's perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular makes a perfect square. Okay, great. So be very careful how you do this lesson. Have your papers with you while you're answering the questions and have an adult check it before you submit it, okay? Bye.